I was just listening to Emma Verne's podcast for the Perfume Room, interviewing Tracy from Invisible Stories. So both influencers in the world of perfumery here on TikTok that I urge you to follow if you don't. But they were talking about poisons in fragrances. And Tracy really hit the nail on the head, quoting a really famous adage in the world of toxicology. By the way, Tracy, if you're listening, I will be sending you the sample of the osmanthus oil I have. It's really beautiful, and a few other goodies. So it's coming your way in a couple of days. And Tracy quoted the adage, "The dose makes the poison," and that is really what it is about. Basically, almost anything in a certain quantity can potentially cause harm and be poisonous. Of course, there are certain chemicals, such as arsenic, that are much more lethal than others. But as a general rule, when we're talking about perfumery, the point is not to put dangerous chemicals into the perfumes or to hide anything under the word fragrance. I mean, we have to think about it. Is it logical or a good business practice to either harm and potentially unalive our clients? Not to mention the potential lawsuits and bad press that would result in. Of course not, right? It's just better to follow health guidelines and healthier business practices. No business wants to be in crisis management. So I'm not sure where this negative bias towards the world of fragrances comes from. Maybe it comes from the history of earlier perfume houses back in medieval times and the Baroque, where some houses were actually fronts for poison manufacturers. And if you look at one of my previous videos, I do actually talk about one particular case with Tofana. So rest assured, there is no one out to get anyone, and there are no boogeymen hiding under the bed in the world of perfumery. There are no perfumers out there that I know, and I include myself, that is trying to secretly poison anyone. Like, nobody wants that, right? And everybody should be aware that year over year, each material that we use, we have a palette of around 3,000 materials that we can access. Each one of those materials are reevaluated every single year for toxicology. And if some of our favorite fragrances are unfortunately reformulated, it's often because of these new standards. So there's a big community of very well-educated specialists that is watching out for us. And just circling back to the adage, the dose makes the poison, it's not because a certain material at one point in time is identified as being problematic that it necessarily means that you are in danger of getting really, really sick if you ingest a little bit of it. It usually just means that it's preventatively being moderated, even if its risk potential is considerably low as per its exposure. And consider this, even CO2, which we breathe in and out every day, is potentially poisonous to us in higher doses. So sometimes you need to take things with a grain of salt.